Hey, so I had a good question from someone in my messages the other day about what they should be counting or where they should be trying to stay under for, calories and carbs and sugar and fats and all that good stuff. And this is a question I feel like I get probably at least once a month or more. And so I wanted to go ahead and do a video post to kind of, discuss it, hopefully bring some attention to it, and then you guys can kind of pass it on to the masses. So after surgery, as you've heard me say before, the most important thing is to really focus on hydration. And that's because that's the number one thing that's going to keep you out of the hospital and keep you from having to be readmitted to the hospital, right? So hydration is always number one, right? And that's, 64 ounces of sugar-free decaf fluids daily. Sometimes if I have like a really petite woman that's 5 foot, 4'11", sometimes it's a little bit less. If I have a very tall female or male, we might go higher than that. But for the most part, the number we kind of give across the board is 64 ounces. Then after that, your goal is protein. And so when you're able to get that 64 ounces in fairly regularly, you want to start looking at the grams of protein that you're getting in each day. Initially, the first kind of basic goal is 60 grams. However, for most people, if you can get closer to 70 grams, again, my taller males and females, even 80 grams is great. So kind of keeping that in mind. Then when it comes to calories, carbs, sugar, guess what? You're totally off the hook. You don't have to track those. You don't have to count them. I still think it can be good to look at them. Like I've said, especially with a gastric bypass and even sleeve, you can still have dumping syndrome when those simple sugars tend to be dumped from your stomach into your small intestine quickly after surgery. That's more likely to happen with concentrated sweets. So sugared beverages, candies, chocolate, ice cream, sweetened yogurts is a big one after surgery for a lot of people because that can kind of slip under the radar. Regular puddings, that aren't that sugar-free. So kind of keeping that in mind, I think it's a good thing to look at, but you don't have to track your sugar for the day. You don't have to track your carbs for the day. Just look to see what those added grams of sugar are at each meal that you're having. But as far as calories go, you don't have to track it, right? The surgery is restrictive enough. We're not going to have you, keep your calories under 800 or 900 or 1,000 or whatever you heard. Now, with that said, there are certain places where people kind of normally fall after surgery. However, that's just not one of the things you have to keep track of. So I really encourage people to focus on the fluids, watch your protein, make sure you're getting in lean sources of protein. As you get to a month or so post-op, trying to switch from your protein shakes, protein drinks, protein powders to more whole foods-based proteins. So eggs, tofu, meat, fish, cheese, cottage cheese, yogurt, milk, nuts, seeds, beans, legumes, quinoa. These are all really good sources of protein that you can choose. And then from there, it's really good to try to have some non-starchy vegetables because those especially give you not just the vitamins and the minerals, but the fiber, which is so important after surgery, just to try to kind of have that regular bowel movement. It's normal to not have a bowel movement for several days at a time. But ideally, we'd like you to at least get, 2 to 3 bowel movements in, one every other day or so. But again, you have to have some solid food to really do that. And so that's where that fiber can really come into play. So I'm going to keep it there for now. If you have any questions about calories, protein, fluids, carbs, sugars, all that stuff, feel free to leave a message in the comment section below. I'd be happy to kind of dive into one of those a little bit more. But I hope that clears up some of the confusion and just makes this post-op time a little bit easier to manage.